Hey y'all, today I'm starting 10 different seeds from my spring garden that need to be planted right now in March. I've got vegetables, herbs, and flowers, including this absolutely beautiful peppermint stick balsam that I cannot wait to get growing out in my yard for the summer. So let's get these going. Now, mid-March is really when I start ramping up the seed starting around here. I already have my tomatoes growing and my peppers going, and I have already started some varieties of different vegetables and flowers. At this point in March is when we really start planting different seeds, succession sowing every week to have the most abundant spring and summer harvest. Thank you to King's Yard for sponsoring this video. If you deal with bird pressure in your yard and you want to keep them off of your tomatoes, I highly recommend setting up a bird feeder and a bird bath on the opposite end of your garden space. The birds would much rather eat this than peck at your tomatoes. And King's Yard has been kind enough to offer our viewers a 20% off discount code. So I will have their Amazon store linked below, as well as the discount code, which is good until May 24th, 2026. So where I live, March is really the month that can make or break your spring and summer harvest. You have to be very strategic about what seed you're starting because we get really hot here quickly. We really don't have a very long spring. So we have to be constantly succession sowing and basically just always staying one step ahead, especially trying to beat the heat. Now, the trade-off to that is that we typically roll the dice and gamble by putting our plants out early. I'm in zone 9A, Southeast Louisiana, and in order to beat the heat, that's normally a necessity. This year was no different. The problem is we're in the 30s today and tomorrow. That's why I am filming inside of my greenhouse at the moment. And as you can see, I have every single plant that are considered backup plants tucked away in here. And if you're interested in knowing who are the best varieties of tomatoes, I'm going to have a huge tomato planting out video coming out this Friday. I'm planting out over 100 tomato plants, and I definitely will be covering my top 5 to 10-ish varieties so far of those standouts, because I started over 40 varieties and some of them are just outperforming others at this point. So I will cover all that on Friday. If you are interested, I encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss that video. Now, what are we starting today? I want to start off first with this gorgeous sunflower. It's beautiful. It attracts pollinators, and I find with sunflowers that they actually act as trap crops. A lot of times I will see certain pests, I think they're called sharpshooters, and a few other pests will migrate towards my sunflowers out in the yard. Now, these seeds are pretty old, and I do find that germination rates tend to go down with sunflower seeds quicker than maybe like tomato varieties. Now, this one is the balsam peppermint stick. I actually grew this. I started it in my fall garden video, and I didn't realize at the time that it was a tropical. So I have babysat it over winter, but it looks like it's going to seed now. And so I was just so enthralled with how beautiful it was when it was in full bloom. I'm like, you know what? I've got to have more of these in my yard, especially since now I know that they're tropical. They're going to really handle our heat and humidity here. And now, new to me, I have tried growing this many years and I've never had success. I'm hoping that this will be the year, is the echinacea. This is a perennial in my area and is an absolute magnet for bees and butterflies. I just don't tend to have the best luck with it. Moving into herbs. Herbs are one of those things, some like it cool, some like it hot. We are now transitioning out of our cool loving herbs, even though it is 30 degrees outside today and tomorrow. But most things like my cilantro have already tried to bolt or are going to bolt within the next day or so. So it's time for us to say goodbye to those. But with that end comes a new beginning, and it's my favorite herbs of all. starting with basil. I love basil. I have so many varieties of this. At this point, probably close to 10 different varieties of just basil alone. But that's also one of those things I succession sow all summer long because I like a huge harvest of basil. Now, basil seeds are tiny, so I really just kind of sprinkle them where I want them. And not only am I going in with the Italian basil, I'm also going to do a little bit of this purple dark opal basil. They are both delicious, and I use them to make wonderful pestos and basil seasoning blends, basil butters. Now, next up in my herb category is thyme. I had thyme growing outside in my yard and did very well with it. I kept it alive almost a whole year, and then I forgot to water it. But I've got some seeds. Ooh, definitely a very tiny, tiny seed. And I'm just sprinkling that into this cup. And lastly, in our herb category, I have Italian oregano. I am currently already growing Greek oregano out in my yard. I bought that as a transplant from my local feed store, and I'm hoping it survives this cold chill. I know the Italian oregano I'm growing in other places survives our winters and our summers. So for the vegetables that I need to start right now, up first is eggplant. This is a new to me variety of eggplant, Aswad eggplant. I do have some Italian purple long that I've already started. So I'm only planting a couple of these seeds because eggplant will produce all summer long. It's going to produce and produce and produce. It will take our heat. Now, I can't handle the cold temperatures we have right now. So these guys will be camping out in my greenhouse for quite some time, but they can get started. Eggplant's one of those foods I find you either love it or hate it. I grew up eating a fried eggplant, Black Beauty. Eggplant's normally the standard of what we would grow here. I'm trying different varieties. Then I got into the purple longs, and those are great for like a fast lunch during the summer. You just grab it, throw it with a little soy sauce. It's great. Now, next up is cucumbers. I'm going to start the season off with Tasty Green. I typically grow a couple different varieties of cucumbers, but again, succession sowing, I'm going in different varieties at different times. I've grown this before. The longer, skinnier cucumber, it's delicious. Again, a little soy sauce. Maybe I just really like soy sauce. And cucumbers are another thing that will produce for us up until the pickle worm comes around. I find that not to be till later in the season though, so we should get a decent harvest of this. And last up for today, I have some zucchini. This is a hybrid. It's the Spineless Beauty. These are older seeds, so I'm not sure what to expect. The thing with zucchini is it's very prolific if you can keep it growing. The issue I run into here is squash vine borers. They are the biggest menace ever. So in order for me to grow zucchini, I normally have to grow it in my greenhouse. If you can see back there, I've got some growing right now in my greenhouse. If you live in an area where you are plagued with the squash vine borer, my biggest recommendation to you would be to figure out the life cycle of the squash vine borer in your area and then plant around that. I know if I start them early enough and I can get them outside without the weather being too haywire, I can get a decent crop out there. But come the third week of April, and yes, I have tested this, the third week of April is when the males will start to appear. The males emerge first, and then the females will be about a week or two after, and they start laying eggs, and the cycle is just complete destruction. Where I live, it's so warm here, they actually have two life cycles. So I have to either plant out really early in March, like I'm doing now, plant in a greenhouse, which I'm doing now, or plant out really late in the season. I haven't tried planting out late in the season, but I think this year is going to be the year we experiment with that. But I definitely know getting everything out early as possible, is one way to beat that menace. And that is just the biggest pest in the garden. And as always, you want to just go ahead and water everything in. And if you are starting early, make sure you keep your spring and summer loving vegetables and herbs warm. I know for a fact that the eggplant will really appreciate this heater tonight. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. And we are entering the busy season. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see how this entire garden progresses from start to finish, I encourage you to subscribe. And until next time, stay blessed.